Hey everybody! Hi, hopefully everything's working. Let me know if you can hear my audio and see me okay and make sure everything's going alright. But hello everyone, welcome to Friday Feedback. I am just getting things set up right here real quick. And cool, it looks like everything's working. Nice. But yeah, this is my first time streaming, so we're making sure that everything's okay still. So if anything goes weird, let me know. And also we're having really bad storms where I'm at, so if I suddenly disappear, you know why. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started. So in case you're new here and don't know what's going on, this is a feedback session that we're doing today with a few people that we've selected for a feedback program that we're doing previously for about 12 weeks. So today I'm going to look over 2 of the animators' work, and we're just kind of going to go through and do shot by shot and look through things and give some feedback. So let me go ahead and just switch here. All right, cool. So today, first up, we have Maya, and we're going to be looking at this. Let me make it full screen. And the shot is definitely familiar to me. I remember shooting ref for this. So let's take a look.
Those kind are poison. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh.
Imagine it was funny. I'm over there.
Cool. Yeah, this is looking good. This has come a long way since I remember just the last time that I saw it. So awesome job, Maya. So Maya said that when she sent this to me that she's like looking for lip sync notes and just kind of wanting that last 10% polish. So I'll go through and I'll first like give you some lip sync stuff. And I think your lip sync's like, it's there. I just think it's about kind of cleaning up some of the shapes, and the timing feels good to me. It's just a little bit more about shaping to get the right feeling. Cause you mentioned that you feel like they're not actually saying the lines. And I think it's good in terms of the timing and everything going on with like the jaw pass is good. I just think it's some shaping stuff. So I kind of will go through and let's look at this.
Those kind are poison.
I'm just kind of looking at her right now, and it's kind of hard to tell because she's a little bit further away, but whoop. It'll zoom in for me, please. There we go. And it's hard because, you know, the resolution's a little grainy. She's far enough away that we can't tell, but so what you might want to do is exaggerate a little bit. So when she says those kinds are poison, choose two to kind of pop, right? So those kinds are poison. So when she says poison, you do that pretty good here. Maybe I would even try to like bring in those corners a little bit more. So it's like poison. That way she can kind of pop it. Which this is good too. I love this mouth shape. But what I would do is move it to the side a bit. So it's a little bit more graphic. Like poison, like it's coming out. So maybe we have here something like this. Make this smaller. There we go. So maybe just like taking this mouth and bringing it that way. So that way you can go poison and like it comes down. Because I also like how you it's kind of like the natural progression of it, because here, poison, I like how she's kind of sneering and it kind of comes to the side, which is nice, like poison. This is really nice. I love this. So getting kind of like an arc with the mouth, this is when you start to get into really polishy things of like arcing the mouth and pushing these shapes, just so that way you're exaggerating them more so they're reading even more. So here, you can start that with this poison, and it's going to kind of come around, and it might even feel like too much. Push it to the point where it feels like it's too much and it's kind of swimmy, and then dial it back 10%. That's kind of like my sweet spot. So here, when she's going like poison, maybe this is even pushed over here. It's kind of hard to draw. The resolution isn't letting me get really good shapes when she's so far away, but especially since she's far enough away, you can really get away with a lot, and it will help it read even more. So here, like just bringing this mouth over. and then this will come here. So basically the mouth's gonna come here, down and around, if that makes sense. You're arcing the mouth. Poison. And then this is when it's just gonna come out this way. Think of it very like graphic, 2D, very cheated, pushed shape. Like you might even for Aya here, you take her main mouth control, like it just moves the lips around the teeth, and I would even just like translate that in X, like bring it over. Yeah. Yeah, also I'm trying to remember how to to look at the chat to make sure I can see what you're saying. Yeah, exactly. So since she's so far away, exaggerating that will just help it read more. So then here, this is when she'll be like the middle, right? Poison. And then on the end, that's when you're going to have that nice, like, I love the shape that you have here. I might try to get into it. Here, I start to hear the S. I wouldn't make it a full S shape here, but this is definitely S, which you're seeing the teeth, which is good. But I'd go ahead and start getting her into that, like, sneer. Poison. And because you want to, like, live in that shape a little bit more. So. And also, I just saw someone, mind if I ask how feedback session works? So we actually have a group of animators. We opened up a little bit earlier to people on our Instagram, the channel box, and had people apply for our feedback program, and we selected a few, had people send their reels. So we'll be doing that next term. So we have, I think, 9 people right now in the feedback session. So that's what every Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. We have 3 of us. So it's me, 2 other animators, Cynthia Musi and Daniel Stewart, and we go through and give feedback. So keep an eye out for our Instagram, and next term you can apply and hopefully get some feedback. Yeah, I think that'd be my notes for like her lip sync here. Really push those mouth shapes and get some more arcs to it.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh.
This, I love one of my favorite things about this dialogue and this audio is you have lots of breaths and like laughing, and that's always really fun to animate. I do feel like this, you could possibly push it more. Like it does read now. It kind of feels like she's going, huh, like more of a breathy laugh than a huh. Like when she's doing that, it's like very chest. So I'd like to see that jaw like punch a little bit more and open, like huh. Like maybe just trying to push that. Like maybe even getting this, you know. Well, actually, hold on. Pushing that even a little bit more. Whoop. My brushes will work. I'm also using a new tablet for the first time, so my hotkeys aren't working, and it's a little rough today. So bear with me, and we'll get through it. But yeah. So here maybe you can even push this mouth, this jaw a little bit further. You know, maybe even further than what I drew here, like just to really punch that, like laugh. So maybe just for sake of argument. So instead of that being her lip, this would all be, you know, open in this very lovely drawing I'm doing here. But yeah, I think something of like pushing this will help that laugh read a little bit more. And then she can close right back into this, which I think is fine, but just kind of like... And honestly, I would actually move this... Oh, now it's not going to match, but, to like 129. I would have the widest opening of her mouth be at 129, so just a little bit before. Yeah. Because it just feels a little bit late, like that opening for that laugh.
I'm sorry,
Here, I would close for the M. I'm on I'm. I would have this be your, you know, this is your two M shapes. And then here, I hear that S. So I would start to show teeth here. I'm you know, this is when I will want to see teeth and start to hear that S. I almost like the way she's saying it and like with kind of like her accent, I have it a little bit more like I'm sorry. Right now she's going to I'm sorry. Like it's very like ooh. Like here. So it feels like she's going sorry. Sorry. Like her lips are like too pursed here. And this would actually do two things. It would give you a nice shape change when she goes to sorry. Because it's like, right now she's going, I'm sorry. And it's staying very much in that kind of same general mouth shape. There's not a lot of variation there. So. And this almost here with her lips, like, they're rolled inward. And it's kind of feeling like she's about to go into a V or a F. Like a B or F. So try to get those lips a little unpursed. Maybe get something a little bit more. Oops. This might be too wide what I'm drawing now, but just something a little bit more open. And that way you can go from that wide, like, you know, corners of the mouth coming out. I'm sorry. And then it'll come in. And this is kind of another place, again, with polishing, I always look for those places that I can move around the mouth. Because I find that one of the biggest things with student work, with lip sync, when it comes as lip sync is concerned, is the mouth feels stuck. And like, when you watch, you know, crazy good animation of, especially like old 2D days, like, the mouth moves a lot on the face because it keeps it very interesting and makes it feel very fleshy and fluid. Because, I mean, as humans, we can move our mouth a lot in real life of, like, you know, there's a lot of range of motion, so you limit yourself a lot by keeping the mouth kind of here and just having the corners come out. Like, it's something I try now to build into my blocking, but before, when I was kind of first learning how to do that, I would a lot of times do a pass after the fact, which I don't think is a good idea, but sometimes it is. Like, if you're feeling like you're shy, you want to push it a bit more. Take that mouth control, or if you take the two lip controls, anything, try to find those moments where you can just move that mouth around. Not to the point of it feeling swimmy and feeling disconnected, but just really amping up that fleshiness with the mouth will help a lot. So here's another place you could do it. Especially on O's or ah, like those are always good because the mouth is coming out anyways, like ooh, right? When we go ooh, the lips immediately come out in Z, right? So that's a good place you can always cheat it because then you have a place to go back to. So you can cheat it somewhere else, and then when you're coming back from that into another consonant, that's when you kind of can cheat it. So here, I would totally push this. So saw, Ari. Whoops. Let me show you. Yeah, for sure. And like, I'm guilty sometimes of going on to the other extreme of pushing it too much in too many places. It's hard to learn how to be selective about it because sometimes if you do it too much, then it does look swimmy or rubbery and it doesn't read really well because you don't have those moments of it being punched up. Otherwise, it just feels like the entire time the mouth is just everywhere. So yeah, it is about finding those moments, and I do it a lot in my oohs. So sorry, you know, stuff like that, or here. Poison. That's a nice one because going from O's to S's are like a nice place usually to do that, I find. Here I would start getting to that like saw, saw. This will be a very crude mouth shape, but basically trying to get something like let me draw this first. Maybe like, you know, trying to get it a little bit more over here. I'm not good at drawing today, but basically like just trying to get that O over, if that makes sense. Yeah. But basically, yeah, you get the point. Like, sorry. I'm missing the R and sorry here. So this is your, you know, oh, like kind of like yeah. Yeah, so there are certain areas that you want to hit harder. Saw, R. R. And for R's, I like to try to show a little bit that bottom tooth, too. And kind of get this mouth a little bit more pursed. Bring on those corners. Don't have them so wide. Have it more like R, like kind of like pursed out. And then that way she can go into this E. So, sorry. E. For E, I don't like to show a lot of like gap between the teeth. So E. Because then it starts to feel a little bit more like a sar. So maybe sorry. And then for here, I might try to, for this E, I might try to cut in this mouth a little bit. Like this corner, especially since she's at a really nice 3/4 angle where you can like cheat that mouth and try to get that nice, like this cut in to the mouth is always something that I try to see if I can get. This is a crude example of it, but even on lip sync like this, because it just makes a nice, like more graphic shape. And a lot of times you have to cheat it a lot, especially on Aya. You have to do a lot of finagling to try to get her very graphic mouth shapes. But
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh.
And here, this is difficult lip sync because she's saying a lot and there's lots of like consonants in there. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh. Like, didn't mean to laugh. That's a lot. That's a mouthful there. So I would choose, because right now I'm just feeling like a little bit of chatter when she says I didn't mean to. Like, there's a lot going on with the jaw. So I might try to simplify that a little bit and just check your like rotate axis of the jaw and make sure it's like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh. So it's going to be like your big pop when she says sorry, I didn't mean to laugh. And then laugh is where you want that second like big drop.
I'm sorry.
So I mean, even here, like maybe you can push the jaw even like a little bit lower. And I feel like this rotate, like this extreme you have on laugh, the ah. And yeah, kind of hiding that mouth corner. So I forget what the name of the control is on Aya, but there's a Z depth control on the mouth corner. So where you can basically take that mouth control and move it back. So I mean, sometimes like on some of my shots, the mouth corner that's far away from camera is pushed all the way back to their ear just to try to get like a really graphic shape. That's an extreme example, but pushing it back and then using like the macro controls to kind of shape in that divot of like this kind of mouth shape. Pushing that side in is a kind of a combo of pushing that corner in, so that way you're actually just seeing the top lip and the corner's kind of hidden. To make this, that's going to be the, you know, the lip. The corner's going to be hidden back. Yeah. Like here, you're kind of doing it. Like, see how just like the top lip's here and you can't really see that corner? I might try to simplify the shape because right now you kind of have this is a round shape, this is a round shape, which sometimes you can do, but as a general rule of thumb, I like to try to keep this a bit more one straight against curve. It's kind of like your straight against curves. Yes, and exactly. I've done that too. You know, so maybe I might try to do something a little bit more like this. Laugh. Like here, I might really try to get that like I might really try to pop into a bigger shape here. Especially with the jaw. Because this is where you want to show that tongue coming down. Because right now I'm not reading. I can tell that the tongue is doing something here. I think it's up here. It should still be up here. You know, that's your tongue. La. You should have it there for a frame, and then 2 frames it takes to go down, down, right? So here's going to be your another tongue. Let's see. And I would do the same thing with this mouth pose. Just maybe bring this mouth corner up a little bit. Pinch these corners. Again, these are just really polishy things because you have like the basic shapes there and the foundations there. It's just about like refining them and like sculpting those mouth poses a little bit more, because I think the timing's pretty much on. There's a few frames that like I might switch around some of the rotations of the jaw, just like 1 or 2 frames late. But yeah, other than that, I think it's just carving out these mouth shapes a little bit more. So here, this is where you're first going to see the tongue come up. For the unlaugh. And then the tongue's going to almost be down here. It's going to start coming down. And then this is where you're going to... And I would have this be still, you know. This is a bad mouth shape, but hopefully you get that general idea. And then the tongue's going to start to be down. You know, and then you have your lips. So if I were to like... And one thing I like to do, just like a little trick of like, when you're not going to be rendering a shot, or if it's just a student shot and you want it on your reel, I always take the mouth bag and I make it black. Like I assign a new material to it and I make it black or like a really, really dark red. That way my tongue pops. Because Aya has an issue where like the inside of her mouth is kind of the same color as her lips. And so sometimes it's kind of hard to see. So that's something that can just help you make sure that like your shapes are reading really clear. But you can see even like with my very crude drawings, you can see that when you play it through, laugh reads really nice now because you see that L like popping off the tongue.
I didn't mean to laugh. I didn't mean to laugh.
Imagine it was funny. Imagine it was funny.
Here I'm hearing the oops, and imagine, So I would open the mouth here. So start to get into this shape by 293. This is another area where... Will it let me zoom in? Let's find out. Yes, okay, cool. Cut this in. Imagine. So just like more graphic shapes, just a little bit more. You know, kind of like getting that asymmetry in the mouth too. Like there's areas that I can see like you're doing that really nicely. It's just pushing it in other areas. You know, imagine it was funny. And just as like kind of just a posing note here, I'm not sure about this mouth here. This is kind of difficult because I know she's saying imagine, or she's probably saying like a shortened version of I imagine it was funny, but it comes out as imagine it was funny, like starting with the M. So I would try to get Right now the M's not reading to me, so I would try to get a little bit variation in this mouth shape that she's starting off in, so that way when she says imagine and she goes into that M, it reads that she's starting to speak. Because right now it's just like, agin, it was funny. It reads she's almost going right into that ah. So what could be kind of fun here is like she's mad at the other girl, right? She's like lazy, she's not doing much, she's like, I'm having to do all this work. You're making fun of me, right? So she's kind of upset at this point. So I might try to do more like a pouty, like, you know, like imagine, and then she can go into imagine. So that way those lips are going to kind of like roll in and she's going to compress. So have her be a bit pouty maybe. Could be something you just try. I think it'd be an easy fix. So, you know, maybe here, maybe it's more like... This is exaggerated, but maybe she's just more like pouty. You know, those lips are like just maybe out. The corners are only out to here. Just something to try, maybe. See how it feels. And then she could go from this pouty expression, right, of just like the lips out. Kind of being pouty. You know, the corners there and there. And then this can go into like a little bit of a smaller. Maybe something like, no. Imagine, and this is when her lips can like roll in a little bit, and it's more compression. Like have the face compress here. That way that M's reading, and it doesn't just feel like she's like speaking out of nowhere. This definitely pushed that asymmetry. I would try to get this sharp here. Right now it's kind of like round. Maybe even widen this a bit. Get those teeth a little more graphic. And right now, like, it's kind of difficult. This is another, like, good thing to making the mouth bag black, is that way you'll be able to see this tongue. Because I'd love to see it this, like, very graphic, right? Like, bring it over. And, like, my tongue, if you were to look into, like, perspective camera and zoom into the tongue in all my shots that I have lip sync, the tongue's all over the place. Like, sometimes it's in the throat. I have to put it all the way back. Sometimes it's very cheated. I cheat the tongue a lot. Because, one, you can get away with it. And two, if your shot's going to be rendered, it's not going to be that big of a deal if it's moving around a ton in the back, especially the mouth closes, so you have time to reposition it. So I would really cheat this if you can. So that way it was more like here. One of my favorite things to do is like look at 2D model sheets for lip sync and like mouth shapes. It's so interesting to see how much they change the tongue and the position in order to get it to look really graphic. And from the perspective of in real life, it's not realistic, but it just reads so much better in lip sync. So here, watch out for this corner again. Try to get maybe something a little imagine.
Imagine it was funny.
I don't really start hearing the W until like 302. I kind of still hear it. It's hard because she's really slurring it, but I would try to I would try to keep a little bit more in that like E, maybe like a little bit wider, just a little bit. Oops, how's that? Actually, probably a little bit wider than that. I should make my brush size smaller. There we go. Maybe just a little bit more of that seeing both those teeth. I would try to get a little bit more of like that for that, because you're going from that G to an N. I would try to like straighten out that bottom lip. Because also that she's saying imagine, because she's kind of doing that N shape, so having it a little bit more squared off will help you when she goes into this was. Same thing here. I try to cheat that angle, bring this mouth over a little bit for the wa. Was funny. So just kind of like bringing back that, you know, mouth corner. S. So here for was, for S's, you rarely ever see like a gap between the teeth. Now she is holding her head back, so technically you might see a little bit, but just for readability, I would probably close that gap. Was. You know, was. Like that. And there's a big gap between when she was funny. Like there's several frames between that. So here I would even try to still kind of live within that S pose too. Was funny. She really holds on that S. So
It was funny.
Was funny, because then she like pops that. I like this F pose. This is really nice here. I love that. It's really good. I love like that kind of like pushed expression. Here I start to hear that ah. So this is just like, again, like just a few places where you're like a frame late with that jaw opening. So here, let's make sure I'm not missing anything in the chat. Okay, cool. Because I do like how you're popping this in the funny, because she really does pop it in the audio and emphasize it. But I feel like you could have one frame here of like just starting to open up into that ah. Like maybe just show a little bit of like I'd push this even more. I love this mouth shape, but I like how you're bringing down that like top lip like honey, because she is kind of like ah, like. But I wonder, I think I would even try to get the jaw even further down. See what it does. Like I would try it. It may look like too much because she does go pretty quickly into over there, from over there. So, but try it. I think it could be fun. Like if we were just to kind of block this in. I a lot of times find with lip sync, I always think like, oh, that's gonna be too much, and then I try it and I'm like, ooh, that feels nice. So always try it, and then always go to 110% because you can always dial it back, but it's harder to inch forward to exaggeration. So maybe like teeth. If I can draw a straight line, that's a question. I would try to get a little more graphic too. Like I would rotate these top teeth a little bit more. Like right now they're kind of this to camera. I try to get them a little more flat. You are going to see, since it's so like open and she's kind of got her head at that angle, you are going to see a little bit of it, but I try to make it more graphic, like cheat the teeth and cheat everything inside the mouth to make it just feel a little bit more 2D. Because what would be nice too is right here she's saying funny. So make sure that tongue is coming up. I'm missing the tongue coming up on the end. Right here is where I feel it. So maybe this is a little bit more open. It's surprising how much of a difference the tongue makes on an in sound or going into an in. That's something I only learned like this year of really pushing the tongue on the N sound. It really makes it feel better. It's not one of those that you really see like a L or a T, but you feel it. So here, right, you're gonna have these bottom teeth. Fun. And for an N, the tongue comes up, and it's not like a th, you know, or a la, where the tongue is right behind the teeth, but it goes farther back on the roof of your mouth. So the tongue will start coming up, you know. Which that's probably a little bit too much. Fun, you know, maybe the tongue's even coming up here. Oh, hello. So maybe, actually what I drew, that's not correct. But like, we'll start coming up this way. Like that tip of the tongue. Funny. And then here, like, the tongue will be completely up, like, behind those teeth. As she goes into this funny E. I would start getting to this, like, nice little sneer that you have a little bit earlier. I really like how you're cutting into this shape here on the screen left side of the mouth. I like it. Here, I try to emphasize that sneer a little bit. Round out, or kind of sharpen up that corner. I'd watch out for this. This is a Aya specific issue where if you don't use, there's like a zip lip control on her mouth corners. So bringing that and like zipping up this so that way it's more like that, if that makes sense. Like not having that little rounded bit of corner, mouth corner, that just makes it cleaner.
Over there.
Here I start to hear the O and over. This is F. F, kinda, like she doesn't really say the F, she doesn't really pronounce it, so I would start to move into that. You know, this shape. I'd start to move into that a little bit sooner. Like here. Get them teeth out of the way. I would try to get that very much just from over there. Yeah, exactly. Like the F will be felt, not really seen at all. Here I would get into that V. This is going to be a little bit cheated, but getting to so like here she's going to start to get into like pretty quick into like this straight bottom mouth. Oh, so you're getting to it almost a frame early, but you can get away with it. Like and then here over, then you're going to kind of release that lip, let it be a little bit more of like a E. Just because like I'm missing that E and it's super quick, but over there, like it will just help pop there. So you're getting that like shape. Try to round this out. There. I drew this a little bit too blocky, but hopefully you get it. So there. Make sure to really have that tongue like peek out. And I know Aya has like an impossible tongue. It's so flat. Like, it's kind of difficult. Let's see what you can do. I like where you're going with this mouth shape on that. But watch out for this lip. I would just try to like clean this up a little bit. Like maybe even trying to get like... Because she's kind of being sarcastic to her at this point. Oops. You know, something maybe a little bit more like this. Just like cleaning up and like sharpening those corners. This is even a little bit pushed, but... And then showing that tongue. Cheating it a lot. Really getting it sideways, like getting that space will help a lot.
I'm over there. I'm over there.
Over there.
I'm over there.
Just watch out from here, from like this open space to there. It feels like there's a key here on the entire mouth, and there's a key here on the entire mouth, and it's just blinding in between. So just make sure that there's like a breakdown there that's like defining that movement a little bit more, because right now it just feels very spliny from like pose to pose on the mouth. And I know she has like she has more of an accent that leaves out those R's, so she's more or less saying over there, She's almost like doing that back throat like thing, but I still might try to hint at an R a little bit, just so that way you have somewhere to go with this too. So that might be closing the mouth a little bit sooner, getting those teeth in there. Maybe something like that. Maybe even more. I might honestly close that mouth more. Over there, like fake an R. Basically, like don't go for a full like R shape, but just kind of get into a little bit like that. So that way, one, the mouth has somewhere to go between there and closing, but also maybe helping to read a little bit more. Also, I just realized I've spent almost an hour giving you just lip sync notes, but hopefully it helps. Cool. Okay, so I think what I'll do now is like, I'll go through and just give you a general pass of like a few posing like eye things that I saw and like facial stuff, because I think the mechanics are working pretty good. And like body mechanics are good, and now like if you're going into like that 10% polish, I find a lot of that is in the face. So something that would be fun here, one of my favorite things to do, and I think Daniel's gonna end up doing like a demo on this in the next few weeks, but basically using like a layered approach to the face is something that I really like to do, especially as like a touch-up thing at the very end. So what I'll do is I make a pose library of, I'll take, eye or whatever rig I'm working with, and I make a squash and a stretch, or a compression and expansion pose, whichever. And so my expansion pose will be the eyebrows are like ridiculous, like, but still not breaking the rig, but pushing as far as I can. Like the eyebrows will be up, the creases will be up too, the whole eye mask, maybe a little bit of the stretch of the head will be up, the mouth will be closed still, but all the way down. Yes, Hunter is amazing, Ember Lab. He's the one that taught this to Daniel, and then Daniel taught it to me, so it's just a passing down of this method, but it really helps bring so much polish quickly to your shot. It makes the face feel really interconnected. But so you'll save like a pose that has everything like stretched. You use the bottom face stretch a lot, really get that whole face working together. Any controls you need to use, any macros, any micros. So then you do that, and then the next thing that you'll do is a compression. So squeezing everything, getting like a nice like squint in the eyes are closed, all that. And then you take the entire face, you put it on a layer, an animation layer, and you go in and you just find areas that you squash and stretch the face. So like right here, that what reminded me of it is like right here, I'm watching her. The first thing that I want to do is stretch that face. Also, I have to use a combo of my mouse and there we go, to zoom in. She grabs it, right? She's happy. I'd get these brows to start like a little further down. So this is something you can do too. Like you don't need to use that method, but I'm just like saying that it is a way that you can do it really quick and to get it really clean. But you know, you can also go through, like you have a little bit of this, right? Like the brows are coming up, which like that would be correct. But then also getting just a moment of flare with that eyes, and that whole eye mask area is really important to get like, oh, you know, kind of getting like that squash and stretch in the face when she goes to like take a bite. Because also it's an exaggerated moment, right? So maybe the eyes like come down, like this is extreme when I'm drawing, but just to like emphasize the point of, you know, maybe it's like something more like this, right? So there's just a moment, and it's usually pretty quick too. I find that you don't need, she looks a little wild, but hopefully you get the idea, and like it's not going to be that crazy looking. Obviously you finesse the poses, but stretching the whole face out will help a lot. So you'll get that, and it'll hold for 1, 2, 3, 4, and then this will go into a compression. And I might even go, whoom. So you almost like do a little bit of like a over settle in the face, if that makes any sense. So it opens, boom, and then here, like when she bites down, that's when you're going to compress everything like, and then it will go back into like just a kind of a neutral middle ground. So, you know, here maybe the brows like come down, maybe even the eyes like squint up a little bit because this jaw is coming up. So you could really play that up if like, you know, maybe the face compresses a bit. Maybe the nose comes up a bit. I mean, just all these little things to kind of like polish it up. And then you go back to this pretty quick. But that helps so much, and that's one of like my favorite things to do in my animations is like getting that connectivity of the face, and using a layered method like that of like expression or expansion and compression helps so much. I mean, that's rough, but you can even see like how that would kind of play out of like you have that moment of like, and you don't hold it for that long, but like 5, 6 frames, like whoom, it will feel really nice.
Those kind are poison.
Here, I have a little bit of issue with like the cheeks are really pushed, right, which is fun. Also, Aya does not have a lot of control over these lower cheeks, which is hard, but sometimes you can fake it with that lower squash control, like trying to sculpt that in a little bit. But here I would try to get, if those cheeks are so inflated, they're gonna push up those lower lids. So here it needs to be pushed up a little bit, like pushed up into it, because right now it feels like this is one thing and then the eyes are another. It feels like the eyes are completely unaffected by what's going on in the lower face. So like go, like she almost needs to be like everything's just kind of like compressing upwards. So make sure that you're getting that feeling of like compression. And baby right here, she kind of looks like she's already scared a little bit because she's got a little bit of like wide eyes going on. So maybe she'd be like she's excited, like she's eating a mushroom. Oh, she loves mushrooms. Like everything's just kind of like compressed a little bit more, maybe a little bit more happy eyes. Maybe drop these lids a little bit. I mean, maybe you could even get like a dumb, goofy smile. Alligatoring the face this way, maybe. You know, bringing the nose this way. Just trying to get more of like this line of action through the face. I might try to like get the brows, just really trying to get like this alligator through the face, like opening it up to one side or the other, because right now she just kind of feels like things aren't working together in the face here.
Poison.
here, you could really push this. It's like a really quick moment too. I think it could be fun if, like, you know, these brows are sky high, which is kind of hard. You want him to see through her hair, but I mean, just really pushing this could be fun. Bringing this mouth out too. Like maybe even more than you have, like really bringing out to the side. Could be fun. Could be something you could try. Aya is notoriously hard to smile. Hard to get a smile pose, and like I think this is pretty good what you have. I think that you could possibly clean it up. Also watch out for this mouth corner. It looks like it's doing some weird topology stuff. But trying, if you can, to cut this off a little bit, get this a little more asymmetrical of a smile will help. I know it's hard with Aya, but just trying to get things a little bit more graphic. Now she looks like she has a little bit of a buck teeth thing going on, but you know, something a little bit more like this might help. Just kind of like trying to pinch up those corners of the mouth. Yeah. I'm just reading real quick. Yeah, it could be, yeah, with the chewing. That's a good idea too. But yeah, just try to get like a little bit more of that with it. It's like, it's mainly what I'm seeing, especially with Aya's, like the difficult thing to get her to smile. It's like pinching in this area, like those mouth corner. So. Also, I'd watch out for these brows right here. They feel like they're just kind of splining through. What I might do, have this start a little bit lower. That way, because right now it's like this is, the outer brows are staying in place and then just the inners are like moving up and down, which is the issue I have a lot with this, and especially Aya's brows are kind of weird the way they're rigged. It depends on what controls you're using, but just try to get these brows up, so maybe moving them up. A lot of times with Aya, especially too, she has such a big forehead, you can really get away with like having these brows come up a lot on any of like those movements. So the brows will come up more, and then they'll come down for this. I think it'd be nice if we get like a bit more of like this shape. Again here, try to bring this mouth a little bit more this way, for lack of a better term. Try to just get it a little bit more graphic. And then here also like just rounding these cheeks out a bit more. Since she's smiling, it's a really, but she's laughing, like try to get these cheeks feeling like they're being affected by the mouth, pushing these corners up. And like even here, I think you could push these, again, these outer brows out more. It's okay if they get a little bit lost behind the bangs, but it's mainly like these outer brows. Also shaping the eye, I might try to get a little bit more of the peak of it here. Whoops. Round them out a bit. And when she does this, the expansion, like have it go, ooh, like the mouth goes down. So maybe it's like more of, this is an extreme example, but like the mouth coming down, maybe it being a little bit more like that.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh.
Didn't mean to laugh. This could be another place where you do the expansion thing, like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to laugh. Like, boom, like it comes out here. You have a little bit of it, I think you could push it. Again, these feel pinned, and it feels like just the inners are moving. So, you know, laugh. Maybe these come up a little bit. This might be too high what I drew, but also watch out for these eyes again. Just make sure that peak of the eye is over the iris. Same thing here. Just to make her feel a little more appealing. Have those crease come up. So on laugh, just kind of think of like everything kind of expanding from the middle, especially since that jaw is dropping. Laugh. And then she can go kind of into that compression again. Let's look at her.
Imagine it was fun.
Okay, so eyes, one thing I did see here earlier. Careful, this is an Aya thing. Like, if you ever bring Aya in straight to your scene, default, she has very much, like, this eyes, and it's kind of strange, because, like, she has very round eyes, but they're very slanted, like, where they go, like, halfway over her pupil, like this, and she looks kind of evil. So, make sure that you don't have that here. I like to pose, I find that Aya is the most appealing whenever you have, like, ovalish eyes on her. So, here, I would try to get, what could even be, you know what could be fun here is either one, you could pose, you know, the eyes a little bit more just like this, right? Especially getting that apex of the eye here. Or what could even be fun is, like here you're kind of doing it. Something I did like on my classic shot at AM a lot, and I got notes from another animator on it, of like keeping this straight and then just like rounding out like insanely this bottom, which is hard with Aya. You have to like take a lot of those macro controls and like bring them up into her skull to try to get it, but you can do it. Just takes a little finagling and sculpting, but just literally getting a completely straight. There is a character in Ferdinand, I forget the name of the bull, but there's one of the bulls and he has completely like, his entire character design is this straight brow and two eyes underneath like this, and he's angry boy. So something kind of like that. Maybe trying to get this, so like the whole eye is under here. And honestly, this is like, whenever I see anyone do this pose on Aya, I love it. And it's a very specific character feeling, so you can't really do it all the time on her, obviously, but it's just a really nice pose on her, and it feels very specific and very shaped. So she can be kind of like this, like, imagine it was funny. And a little bit cross-eyed as I just drew her. Eye direction is not my strong suit today, but basically you get the idea of like, she's just very like lackluster, and you can kind of shape the top creases to kind of follow the same eye line. And then kind of having the brows like mimic that feeling.
Imagine it was funny.
I love this. This is awesome. Like this very stretched pose. Like I would love to see if you could do more of like this expansion in other places. Yeah, it's like a little more cartoony, and I just think like poses with Aya and her eyes specifically make or break a shot with Aya, because her eyes are very strange to pose, so getting those specific eye shapes help a lot. Like I love this. Make sure you're trying to get that apex again, like over the eye. I always think of the eye as like, you know, even in these kind of more 3/4 angles of like that round bit, this is where the apex needs to be of the eyelid over top of that pupil.
Funny. I'm over there.
Or like I love here when you go over there, like she has that little mini like there, like eye flare. Again, these outer brows are feeling pinned to me. On this eye thing, right now those outer brows are going down, but the inners are going up, so just have them come up. Yeah, EYE. So I think you could get away with a little moment of like these brows all coming up because you're having that there, and then like that expansion of everything moving from the center outwards.
There.
But yeah, I think that would be my main notes for now. Wait, let me take a look at this at the end.
There.
For this, when she turns the other way, I would have a moment of these brows really coming down, like cutting into that crease, getting this a little bit more squashed. Have a little bit moment of a compression. You know, maybe like that nasal fold's too much, but maybe getting like a little bit more of this. And then going up into this. I'm not sure about these eyebrows. I'm a little wary of this because right now the brows aren't flowing into each other. So if you're, I like the idea that you're going for though, so maybe more of like, she's angry, right? So just trying to get like those brows kind of coming in together. And also watch out for these eyes. I try to do something a little bit more like this. Just shaping them a little bit more oval, a little more round. So watch that eye direction. Make sure she's actually like looking this way. I'd move this one a little bit over. I try to get something a little bit more like that. Get some asymmetry in the face. Alligator it, open up. Let me look at her. I'm not entirely sure what the intention of the subtext of what she's thinking here, if that makes sense. Like, she's almost got like a, oh really, you're gonna leave, like snooty look. And then I'm not sure what the motivation subtextually is behind her, like just going like from that to like kind of compressing her mouth. And then she laughs, which I get that. So think about the subtext of like, what is she thinking here? Is she like, oh, because right now, like if I was to take this, what I would read from it is she's thinking, oh, what a snooty brat. I'm fantastic. Like that's kind of what I'm feeling in terms of what this space is speaking to me right now, but it's not reading super clear. It's kind of like there's a lot up to interpretation. So if that's what you want in terms of the subtext of like what you think, oh, let me see. The idea was she would try to keep in the laugh till the other girl leaves. Okay, so if that's like the intention, I like that. So if she's like, so when I think of trying to keep it in a laugh, but like trying to keep up this demeanor, she's going to be like she's almost going to be losing it, right? Like she's trying to like hold it in. And right now she just seems very like, I don't care, like relaxed. So try to sell that tension, right? So when I think of that, I almost think of like everything coming this way. I don't know of a good way to describe it. Sometimes my notes are very intuitive and they don't make a lot of logical sense, but something more like, oh, what are those eyes? Madison? No. Hold on. Like something more compression, almost like she's in pain from holding back the laugh. If that makes sense. I don't know. But just compressing this, like, maybe something like that. This is not exactly what I want, but hopefully you can get the idea of just like kind of compressing everything more. I want this smile to be like goofier, like I wish I was a good enough artist I could draw what was in my head. I have so many issues. But basically she's like, okay, maybe something a little bit more like this. It's not exactly what I'm thinking, but just something a little bit more compressed and a little bit more like, oh, also bring out this cheek, like really push it. If she's trying to like hold in that laugh, right? Scrunch up that nose. I mean, just like anything you can do to try to like compress everything, like, and then when she laughs, it's like an explosion. And I would almost try to keep her in that, like have her like just kind of in a neutral, like a little bit of compression, and then halfway through before she laughs, she goes, and like she really kind of scrunches down, and then she like explodes into the laugh to here.
Those kind are poison.
I love all the facial expressions you have on her in this first bit. It's really nice. Just one little note, shape that eye. I'm a stickler for Aya bringing that apex of like that lid before over top of that pupil. It just makes her more appealing. Especially here, like just make sure that that's over here. Also a little cheat, random cheat with Aya. If anyone has Aya in here, there's a control for her eyelashes to make them smaller or to curl them, and Aya looks better with smaller eyelashes. Just putting that out there, especially if you're doing really extreme eye shapes. Sometimes, like, I know on my shots that I've used with Aya, I forget the exact percentage, but I turn them down a lot to make them a lot shorter, because you can really push eye shapes more. 'Cause sometimes if you do try to do a really stylized eye shape or a really pushed eye shape, that kind of freaks out because the way it's weighted. So just random thing. I think it's on her main eye control. She has like these eye controls out to the side here. I think it's on this one, but yeah, honestly, I think I went way over, but hopefully that helps in terms of notes and lip sync. I know I gave you a lot of stuff. So do you have any questions or anything before I wrap this up, Amaya? Cool. If she doesn't have any questions, I'll move on. Awesome. Yeah, you're welcome. Cool. I can't wait to see the next pass of it. It's really cool to see the shot from when you started it, like started with reference and everything, to where it's at now. Like, you've made a ton of progress on it. It looks awesome. So great job. Yay, glad you found it helpful. That makes me happy. Okay, cool. So I'll be by myself. So next we have Eob. Hopefully he's here. Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, let me take a look. And also, just a thing for everyone to know is these streams are being recorded, and they'll be on our Twitch channel as like a previous archive stream and on YouTube. So if you want to look back at a critique or watch it again or miss it, you can always go back and look at the recording. So, okay, cool. So this is Eob. So hopefully he's here. If not, hopefully you can see it. Oh, hello, you're here. But this is super cool. This is super long of a sequence, so I don't think we'll have time to go through like every bit of it. And I know you're going into starting blocking a new shot, so I'll just take little chunks that I see and kind of break down some things that, just some general notes. So. Also, I know that you're going into facial acting and you're learning more of acting and facial animation, so I'll try to kind of focus on notes of that nature. That way that can kind of prepare you to things to think about for the next shot that you're about to start blocking. So we'll just keep that in mind as I go through. But I'll go ahead and play it through so that way everyone can see it, and then I have some few chunks that I'd like to talk about. So. First of all, this is awesome that you did all of this. Like, this is a crazy long sequence, and I get anxiety when I'm doing just like a 600 frame shot. So kudos to you. This is amazing for like the length, and you have creatures, multiples creatures, and vehicles and everything. So great job. I love your creature work too. You have a lot of like really fluid movement in these raptors. Especially like I love, one of my favorite parts is like here, this guy, when he falls down, that feels really nice and fluid, really organic. And I can feel the weight, like the weight's really there. So awesome job on that. So just a few places, let's see. So one general note I would kind of give you overall, just to keep in mind, like moving forward, find places that you can break up the body. Like I've noticed there's some areas, like your mechanics are pretty solid, especially with the creatures and like with your human characters, but just find places that you can break up head, chest, hips. Because think of like the head and the chest and the hips as like bouncing balls, 3 of them, right? And you never want them to all move as a unit. You always want it to be like lead, follow, follow. So that's just something to keep in mind whenever you're refining and like working on any mechanics, is finding places that you can break those things up. Like this is pretty good. It's falling off. You know, so here I feel like all those things are kind of, this is a little bit different since he's going into like a roll forward, but like even here, right, he kind of gets into this pose, right, and doesn't really change from it until he goes here. So just like some posing things, right, so here, and then maybe the head would start dipping down, and then the head would start really dipping here, and then the chest now is going to start following that and going down. Head's a lot lower, tucked in. Chest is going this way. The hips are going to come up because they're going to start to follow. You know. And then here, he's really going to be down, and the hips are going to be a bit more up because they're going to follow where the chest is coming in. And then this is where you're going to have that nice, like, the head. Also, I would, like, move the head to kind of get him rolled in to get this shape a little bit more simple. Which I know David, this rig, has a very difficult body sometimes to pose and to get, like, really clean shapes. So just keep that in mind. It's like here, you know, hips are here. So, you know, maybe the hips are a little bit more over this way. So just thinking about those things, like the bouncing ball, like here I would have this chest start to really come down, and like that head, he should really be rolling on it at this point. You know, like it's kind of difficult to draw, but basically you want to start to see that neck disappear because the shoulders and stuff are going to come over top of it. So he's really going to start to get like scrunched up. Boop. Here, like I'd love to see like more of this with the hips and like really getting it. Like you could really push this, you know. I would really push the line of action this way, because right now he's kind of going just like on the straight line this way, but think about where he's coming from, right? All this weight of like, especially the bike's kind of right now like still under his bum and everything, like all that weight's coming down. Yeah, he does have a very difficult body to pose mechanic wise. So just think about this as like compression, like the whole body as a whole is squashing. And you want that to sell that weight and that impact. And those hips are going to be coming back down onto like the head and the chest. So even like here, you know, maybe you don't even see this leg, you know, maybe this leg is already kind of behind him this way. So like the leg would be this way if you were looking through the body. But maybe here you don't see the head anymore. Maybe it's just that. You know, and then here you're just seeing this. Maybe the hips are that way, and then this is when he starts to roll. Hips are going to come forward this way. You know, maybe this leg is over here. Just something to like break that up. And like here, I would probably have, these hips are good, I think, where they are, but I would have the body be over here and the head over here. So these legs can virtually stay where they're at. You know, you have more of this, but then you're gonna have like the head over here. You know, hands, and then another hand over here. And then he's gonna roll up this way. Let me play that as it goes. Yeah, you see how now it feels like, those are really rough drawings, but it just feels like he's taking the weight. Like it feels like he's just being compressed. Like it just really, boom, like it hits. And it feels like that shoulder and like his back is really taking all that weight down, and it just feels a little bit heavier, and the impact is more there. And also what that's doing too, it's breaking up that body. It's not moving as a unit. It doesn't feel like he's stiff and he's just being rolled. It feels like each part of his body is taking the weight at different times, which is like the ultimate thing you want in body mechanics, is you want it to take it weight at different times, and it makes it feel way more organic and all those good things that we want to see in animation. And here, in terms of like facials, when he's down, I want to see compression in his face too. Because he's down, he's just rolled over the bike, like he's trying to get his bearings, so he's going to be like, ugh, and then he's going to go into like an open expression. So, you know, here, if I were to zoom in a little bit, I would try to compress all of the space. So, maybe even the eyes are like barely open, if they're open at all. You know, maybe something like this. The cheeks are pushing up into it, like everything is just compressed. Yeah, I drew that jaw way too small, but yeah, really just compressing everything, and like, you know, the mouth coming up. So just something like that, like trying to get, it's kind of hard because the resolution is not letting me, something just a little bit more like this. Right now his eyes look sad, I don't want that, but more of just like, just a little bit more compression in the face and trying to get that all. And then here, that's when you can open up the face, right? And one of the biggest things when you're starting to learn facials and facial animation is opening up a side of face, asymmetry. So just like you want asymmetry in your body and your poses, same rules apply when it comes to the face. So one of the biggest things like Disney animators talk about is like alligatoring the face one way or another. So thinking of it being, there's some people call it the accordion, but like one side of the face being open. So usually the face of the side you want being open is where you want the audience to be looking, or where the action's about to go. So here I would have this side of the face be open. So basically that means like stretching the face, so it's like this. So for instance, if I want to do that, I'm going to make this brow more open. I'm going to stretch the face. And this will be even a more extreme example because there's lots of movement, so this is almost going to act as like a smear of like, woo, like the face is going, so you're going to really emphasize that motion and that movement through the face. So, you know, I might even change this a little bit so it's like really stretching that face. I like this mouth pose you have, I just might like, maybe this eye is a little bit more open than this eye. The nose especially is something I'd want to like So just thinking of like this line of action. So then the nose would be like whoop, here, but just a little bit more rotated this way. And then maybe the mouth, something like this, right? Whoop. So it's just finding places to like push that asymmetry and really get one part of the face open, one part a little bit compressed. Yeah. I might even, for funsies, push this even more since this is like in the air and he's screaming. He's like, ah, well, not screaming, but he's just like, you know, really huge expansion here. You know, this is extreme, but you might even be able to push it to something like this. Of like this is gonna push up this cheek, maybe into this eye a little bit, right? So that's more asymmetry with it. That's the tongue. That tongue would be like there, very graphic. So just something to really push that face and just make it more interesting to look at. Keep that in mind as you go forward with like facials and facial posing. Let's reset. So I know there was another area I wanted to look at. You know, same thing here, like if I can zoom in. Yeah. So same thing here, like I would really squash this and, you know. You know, make this cheek come in a little bit more. Hopefully I can try to keep him on model. Something like that. You know, have these cheeks come up into... I would probably even push this mouth more to the side. If I could draw it, yeah, maybe something like that. Getting this feeling. You know, trying to get the eye, instead of like this is a peaceful kind of like closed eye expression, but whenever you're getting like pain or something, try to get more of this, because that means those cheeks are like pushing up into the eyes, right? Like if you have someone smiling, this is a terrible face, but those smile is going to push the cheeks up into the eyes, so you're going to get more of like this shape with the eyes. Trying to avoid this with the face, so maybe getting some asymmetry here, pushing this up. So just little fixes to the face that you might want to try, like think about ways that you can always improve the feeling of asymmetry in the face and just getting things feeling fleshy. And you know, same thing here. Things that I would do would be, you know, alligator it out this way. Think of it opening up that face, bringing the mouth more over this way, you know, doing things of opening this brow, putting this brow down, moving this. Think about that line of action. You think you know line of action always through your posing and body mechanics, but it's also in your facial posing too. Someone said, do you think it is always correct to avoid twinning in animation? If you can at all avoid it, yes. Sometimes there are times where you might be repeating the same gesture with two hands, right? But just trying to find areas where you can push asymmetry. I think it is wrong if you have the exact mirror pose. Unless you're doing it for a very specific stylistic reason, always try to find areas that you can change it. Like if a character's going like this, like stop, find a way that you can either angle them so the hands look different, or like one's just a little bit off, or you can have similar gestures or things in the face, but keeping asymmetry always will add interest no matter what you're doing. So yes, maybe there is times where my philosophy is you need to learn the rules of animation so you know when to break them. So I never say like, oh yes, you always have to avoid twinning, or yeah, exactly like what Sin's saying. Sometimes the pose can be twinned-ish, but the in-betweens are offset. So it can be, twinning, but at the same time, you're finding areas where you can push it. So that's kind of my philosophy, is there are times to break rules too. But you have to know the rules in order to break them. So here's another area of the body that I would try to break up. You have a little bit of that going on. Like right now it's nice, the head is rotating down and the hips are starting to come up. But push that even more, right? This head should start dropping even more as the body comes up. Here the hips should be what's coming up, and then the head should come down. And then my proportions are all off here, but hopefully you get what I mean of like this head is going to be coming down, you're going to start to see the back of the neck. And this will continue here, which you're having, but see how all of this just feels like it's doing this. It's like teeter-tottering almost, like the same. Yeah, also too, what Daniel's saying about twinning, that's a good point. It depends on the style. It can be a stylistic thing sometimes. We're like twinning on purpose, which is an example of breaking the rules. It's a general rule of thumb, don't twin, but you have things like Hotel T style. Some things can change it, so. So I would just so like things like this, breaking up the body would be offsetting, having these hips start coming up a few frames earlier. So maybe those hips get here quicker and then kind of ease as that chest catches up, right? So then these hips would be easing here because they're already there. So it's offsetting what gets to where at certain times. So you want the hips to get there first, and then the chest is, and then the head is. And so they're also countering on this motion too, so it's a little more specific. But this run feels really nice to me. The arms feel good. It's really pushed. I like the spacing. The spacing feels really good. Oh, here's another place. Make sure when he's pushing off of this, right? He's using this rock to like leverage himself up and away. So here, I think the main thing I'm not feeling the weight is he puts his arms here, right? I might actually get him to have his hands on the rock here. And then here, they're going to be on it still. So this will be the last pose of hands up before they make contact here with the rock. And then here is where you're going to feel these shoulders come up. Because that's a lot of times what shows weight is like hands hit as soon as the body comes in. Like if I'm putting my hands on my desk and I move forwards, I'm not moving my shoulders at all, but I'm putting weight down and the shoulders are going to go up because you have this pressing up into the shoulder. So it's going to press up those shoulders, and that's what's going to show that he's taking the weight here. And I would try to bring in this elbow a little bit. It's going to be foreshortened, but to get maximum leverage, it's nice to have your elbows underneath of you So just a little bit more in like this. And then here, the shoulders are still going to be up a little bit because this is when this is the max of like, he's really pushing up with those shoulders. And then here, they're going to come down. So maybe not as far here, but something like this. And then they're going to be down all the way and like pushed. And then they can start to come up again for this nice Spider-Verse pose you got going on. Oh. Where'd it go? There it is. Yeah, so just so you can see, like, those shoulders now feel like they're, like, taking the weight and pushing off. Like, those shoulders coming down is what's going to make him feel like he's, like, really pushing off of it. So, like, here's another place, like, you have this. When he closes his eyes, that's when you want to show, because, like, he's stopping. He's slowing to it, or quickly trying to get to a stop. So you want that whole face to be like that stop and that force of that inertia is almost like making his entire face, like, compress. So here, like, I would really try to compress this of, you know, the face comes up. You can even still, you can have the mouth open a little bit. But having it come up. You know, those cheeks going up into it, the nose compressing, just everything in the face compressing together. And then he can open up into this. You know, and with here, same general notes, like overall, it's just like, you know, find areas where you can push this asymmetry and get these eyes a little bit wider, you know, try to get, you know, we're feeling this again. You know, this brow's good. Maybe get this one up a little bit more. This might be too much when I'm drawing, but something like this. Maybe try to get this nose a little bit more sideways. So just little things of, you know, the little stuff to try to get that asymmetry in the face. And then especially here, I'm seeing, like, watching the head. Well, let me make it a little bit bigger. Head, chest, hips. If you're watching it, see how they all move at the same time? Like from frame like 921, they're not moving, and then all three of them are moving an equal amount at the same time. So it just feels very much like this instead of like, it feels very much just like he's turning very stiff all together. Instead, it should be, you know, he's looking because he hears them behind him, right? So the first thing is going to be eye. He wants to look at it. So head's going to move, then chest, and then hips all the way. You know, so delay the rotation, that Y rotation of the chest and the hips a few frames back. So the first thing that's going to start is that Y rotation of the head, and then, you know, 3 frames later, that Y rotation of the chest is going to start, and then 3 frames after the chest is going to be like when the hips start to actually turn. So, you know, chest is going to stay here, but then you're going to start to have this head turn. So first, second, third of Y rotation. And that's going to carry out into this shot too. Which you do have a little bit of offset of, like, right now this is, right now you have the head kind of like going and then stopping, and then like, and then it's chest and then it's hips, which works, but I just feel like the head needs a few more frames of like rotation, rotate Y. Like maybe 2 or 3 more frames of just like the head, rotate Y and settling. Because right now it kind of feels like it goes here, hit a wall, and then everything else is kind of moving. So just kind of have it ease in a little bit more to that extreme. I'm gonna get this here. Also, just one, like, this is just a little thing that I found. Try to break up these toes and then have the foot completely flat by 3. This is like what we call like the 3-frame foot roll for like a walk cycle. A lot of times you like to have contact, which sometimes it's too much, especially for a more naturalistic motion. But to make weight feel like the foot's really taking weight, a lot of times you like to do contact with the heel, then the mid foot with the toes still up, and then the toes. So it's like boom, 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 which is nice. So sometimes you need a like 1, 2, 3, 4, but a lot of times you can get away with like 3-frame foot roll. So you might want to try that out with any time the foot is contacting. But yeah, I think that would be my main notes for this, like mainly just some body stuff. General overall note is make sure that you're having the body broken up and it's not all happening at the same time. You're breaking up, thinking of the bouncing ball. The head's a bouncing ball, the hips, or the chest is a bouncing ball, and the hips are a bouncing ball, and breaking those 3 things up all the time. So that would be my main note. Think about asymmetry, especially in the face. About facial performance, think about that compression whenever there's lots of running or jumping. Think about compression and expansion. That's a lot, especially in action scenes. Like, that's a lot of what your face is doing. So especially keeping that in mind when you're going into blocking this next shot and starting to do a lot more acting and facial performance. I think that'd be my main notes for you to focus on next, especially in the shot, because a lot of your mechanics are working really good. So mainly focusing on that, and this is such a long shot, I'm sure you probably want to be done with it. I can imagine. So yeah, it's awesome, and I can't wait to see what you do next and see what you do with acting and dialogue, and that'll be super fun. So yeah, I think that'd be my main notes, and I have a little bit of extra time. I was supposed to have 3 people today, but I know one of our feedback students couldn't make it today, and starting next week. So next week I'll have the 3 like we normally do, but yeah, unless anyone has any other questions or anything else they want to ask while I'm here. And yeah, you're welcome. Cool, I'm excited to see what you do with facial animation. Your stuff's really good, so can't wait to see. Thanks, Sin. Sin, I learned more from you, so I'm just here. I don't know. I just make really weird facial expressions. That's all I do for feedback. Hopefully it helps. I'm kind of a muppet with my facial expressions, but hopefully it helps. Yeah, awesome. Cool. I'm excited to see what everyone does next week, and if anyone has any questions or anything, they can ask. And I don't think that we're having a stream this Saturday. That's kind of like a week-to-week basis thing. I know we were going to, but I think that got canceled. So I think our next stream so far will be Wednesday at 6 p.m. PST. So everyone can tune in and see Daniel give some great feedback. Yeah, next Saturday I think there will be a stream. So yeah, real winner to get everyone hyped. A mystery winter stream. But yeah, awesome. It's been great to see everyone's work, and yes, maybe the amazing Tay and Roe. Possibly. Yeah, for sure. Check Instagram for a schedule. I know we try to post a weekly schedule each week, because it changes from week to week, especially our Saturdays, because that's when we do either or are going to do guest lectures or demos or any of that. And yep, follow what Cynthia just posted. We have Discord for the channel box where you can see, stream announcements, things from week to week, and also on Instagram we post a lot. So check us out there. But as for that, I will see you guys later. Goodbye.